Good morning and welcome to Nora's Dog Training Company. We're here this morning with Ringo and Fred, and what we're going to be demonstrating for you today on video is Ringo's ability to understand and respond to his formal on-leash obedience commands, the correction and the motivation that we give the dogs when we're working with them, and the training equipment that we're using. Fred is using a regular 6-foot web training leash, and he keeps the bulk of the leash folded neatly in his right hand. That leaves his left hand free to give any correction that's needed, and the only correction that we give is a little tug and release on the training collar, and that is the second piece of equipment that we're using. Ringo and Snow are going to come home with their very own training equipment, and you're going to be taught how to use that during your follow-up training session. Now, Ringo is sitting very nicely at Fred's left, which is where all of our obedience training is done. And the first exercise that they're going to demonstrate for you, which is going to be really important to you living in the city, is the heel. Heeling is proper leash walking, and the command is Ringo heel.
Ringo heel.
Now, at this point, Ringo has a job to do, and that is to maintain pace with his trainer and with his owner, walking at your pace, and each time that you stop your feet, the dogs have been taught to sit automatically without being told to wait for their next command. So when you stop to cross traffic or talk to someone on the street, they should be sitting quietly at your side waiting for your next command. They shouldn't be lunging out, jumping all over people, but always under control. Now, the next command that we're going to demonstrate is the sit-stay. The stay is a hand and a voice command, and because it is a stationary exercise, you are not going to use his name. Your sit-stay, you're going to practice indoors as well as outdoors, and you're going to start out at about a minute and work up slowly to 3 minutes. When Fred returns back to his dog, he walks all the way around him as an additional distraction, and Ringo is to remain seated until he gets his next command and Fred tells him to heel again. And you notice that he's matching pace with Fred, walking nicely at his side, not lunging out, not forging ahead, not dragging him. Nice automatic sit there. Fred leaves him in another sit-stay. You walk out to the end of your leash and you turn to face your dog. And you make him hold these stationary exercises. This is developing self-control, which the dogs had none of when they got here. And this time, instead of returning back to him, Fred's going to call him, and this is your come on command. You don't get too carried away. He comes in and sits, not comes in and jumps all over you. And when you're calling your dogs, you don't have to be over the moon excited, because when you are, you lose focus and they get too amped up. So just a gentle Ringo come is plenty. And then he should come and sit. If he attempts to put his front feet on you, you do not praise him. You tell him no, sit. And Fred's going to demonstrate that exercise again. You walk out to the end of your leash, you turn to face the dog, you use his name, and he comes right in and sits in front. And then he goes back to heel position. Nice automatic sit when you stop, and when you start practicing with the dogs, practice with one dog at a time until you get more experience doing these things with the dogs, and then you can practice with 2 at a time. Now, the next command that we're going to demonstrate is the down from a heel position. So with the dog seated at your left, you take your left open palm, push it straight down toward the ground, and give the one-word command to down and stay. Now, your long down stay, practice right in your apartment. You're going to start out at about 1.5 minutes, and you're going to work up to 5 minutes. And this is, again, developing his self-control. When Fred returns back to him, he's going to walk all the way around him, just as he did on the sit-stay. And he gets back to heel and stops. And at that point, the dog expects to get another command. So at that point, you can tell him stay, you can tell him heel, you can tell him whatever you want to tell him, but you have to tell him something. And you can't even hear Fred giving the commands very well because he doesn't have to yell. The commands are just spoken with your hand and voice. You don't need to yell the commands, or, you know, it doesn't help or it doesn't work. This time Fred will call him out of that down stay. And trust and believe, we have 2 bird nests going on in the yard, so we have lots of distractions back here. Squirrels and birds, you can hear the birds chirping, and this is a bird dog, so he's really doing very, very well. Now the next command that we're going to demonstrate for you is the down from a distance. So you're going to have your dog in heel position seated, you're going to leave him and turn to face him. You're going to use your, you're going to use your right hand to give the command. And you're going to drop him into a down from a distance. Now he's being silly.
No.
Now Fred's going to make him complete the command as it was taught.
Okay.
Now we've demonstrated all of Ringo's formal obedience commands. We're going to come back with Snow and demonstrate her version of the same commands, and we'll be back in just a minute.